a video on Cumberland Sauce. So every year, after Christmas is over, I end up with a load of cranberry sauce left over. What I do is I take the cranberry sauce and I see what else I've got knocking about that needs using up, and I make a Cumberland sauce. You're supposed to use red currant jelly for the base of a Cumberland sauce, but I just kind of use anything around that type of thing. Cranberry sauce, if I've got a bit of red currant jelly, anything like that, a bit of jam, and combine it with the other ingredients that go into a Cumberland sauce. So powdered ginger, powdered mustard, orange juice and zest, lemon juice and zest, and a bit of port or red wine, and cook it down and make some Cumberland sauce. So we're going to do that, and we'll see what we've got around the cupboard. But I have been given this, which is leftover mulled wine from a function. Well, I haven't been given it, they were going to throw it away, and I said, oh, I'll use that. Didn't know what I was really going to do with it. It's a little bit sweet, it's not really alcoholic, so I kind of thought, well, what we'll do is we'll reduce it. I don't know what there is. There's about 4 litres, I reckon. About 4 litres, yeah. There's about maybe 3.5. What we'll do is we'll reduce it right down and we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a bit sweet and it won't be really winey, but I think if I buy some cranberries, which are really sharp, it might counteract the sweetness that's in this type of thing. So I won't need to put anything like port into the Cumberland sauce. This will be the alcoholic flavour to it. Well, it's not alcohol, but like that alcohol, port reduced down, you burn off the alcohol, but that kind of flavour to it. And it's a little bit spicy, and there's some oranges in there already, so it might work, but we'll see. So we'll reduce it right down, get it kind of quite concentrated, just a case of bringing it up to boil, and then a slow simmer to evaporate off the excess liquid. But we'll see what happens, we'll see how it tastes. Right, so that is now really reduced. We'll just give it a quick taste. Quite nice is that. It's quite nice is that. We might not use it all in the what's it called? Cumberland sauce. It kind of tastes a bit like a cordial. That's interesting, isn't it? It kind of tastes like cordial. There's quite a lot of sugar in there, so that's why it's turning into a syrup. But I'll put it into a bottle. We'll let it go cold, and then we'll give it a try when we're making this Cumberland sauce. Right, let's see what we've got for this Cumberland sauce. So this is some of the orange juice and lemon juice that I'm going to reduce down. If we reduce that down separately, it's a smaller volume of things to boil and reduce, and we'll evaporate that quicker. We're not going to use as much electricity. Rather than adding that juice to the rest of the ingredients and then reducing it down, it gets a little bit messy. There's a danger of burning the Cumberland sauce. So we'll reduce that down separately. I've saved some, that's not all of it. That is the juice from 6 oranges and 6 lemons. I've saved some of it for a different kind of purpose. So what I've kind of gone through the cupboards and found there's some quince jelly from last year. I know it's from last year because my friends have just given me a new jar. I really should do a better job of eating that, shouldn't I? And then we have got half a jar of Tasty Different Sainsbury's bitter Savile orange marmalade. Let's not look at the date on that. It's not too bad. That's fine. That's fine. That can go in because we're already putting oranges in, so that's going to work, isn't it? The quince is going to work. And then we've got some, looks like homemade red currant jelly. I don't know when this is from at all. It might have been in the cupboards for years, but it looks alright. It's not, looks a little bit more like jam. It's not a great colour. It doesn't look like my jelly. I think Mum gave it to me. It's alright. That's going to go in. And then, oh yes. So we need to have a taste of this reduced mulled wine, don't we? That's kind of lovely syrupy colour, hasn't it? Don't need all that. Give that a taste. Now it's cold. Things taste differently hot when they do when they're cold. That's nice as that. That's nice as that. We're not going to use all of that. I think we'll turn some of that into a cordial, but that will be a different video. And then we've got the leftover cranberry sauce. There's quite a lot of it this year, but not to worry. And then I need another spoon. Then we've got this. This was some red wine that I reduced to see how. Oh no, we can't use that. It's gone all mouldy. Oh no, can't use that. That was some red wine that I reduced to see if what would happen with it, see if the crystals would form, but it's gone mouldy on the kitchen cupboard. So we can't use that, can we? No, not at all. That's a shame. I was going to use that up, but not to worry. That will go down the drain. So the winey element will just be from that. So, oh, and then we're going to put in some. I don't know if this is available all over the world. We've got some ground ginger, and we've got some dried mustard powder. So per orange and per lemon, you want to put about a teaspoon of dried mustard in and a teaspoon of dried ginger in. Oh, and then we've got the zest as well. So we've got the zest from the orange and from the lemon. What we will do, those are a bit too big. So what I think we'll do is we'll use the juice that we saved. So we've got this juice here. We'll use that juice. We'll add the zest to that juice, and then use the hand blender to chop that up a little bit finer. We could go through it with a knife, but I think we might as well just use the hand blender, and then we'll strain out those and use that juice to mix to mix into the dry ingredients. So to mix into the ginger and the mustard. So then, because it's very difficult to add dry powders to wet ingredients without them going clumpy. But if we use add a little bit of liquid to them and make a paste, that will mix in a lot easier. So reduce that right down. Add the jams and jellies to that. Bring up to the boil. Add in some of that reduced mulled wine, and then we'll be somewhere like. Right, we have reduced that juice, and you can see how much I've reduced it by. So it's gone almost to a kind of syrup. So that means we don't need to boil all these bits of jams and jellies too much and risk it catching. So that into there, and then slowly up to the boil, and then we'll add some more sauce. Oh yeah, so I just shook out the jars with a little bit of that mulled wine reduction, so that can go in now, but we'll add more of that mulled wine reduction at the end. So we'll kind of taste how everything in there tastes, and then we'll think about adding how much we're going to add of that. As you know, as always, because we can always add a little bit more. We can't take it away. So that in like that. And then like that. It should, and we'll give it a blend as well. So we'll get the blender in it, because there's some chunky bits of cranberry which I don't want. I want it. That's that bit of cranberry there. I want it smoother than that. I don't want it perfectly smooth, otherwise we put it through a sieve. But just to kind of put the hand blender in there, just to get everything completely pureed before we put the other ingredients in. Is that it? Yes, that's it. It's now bubbled away and coming to temperature. Let's just move this a little bit closer to my hand blender, and then we'll just run the hand blender through it, get it smooth. Oops, turn the hand blender on and pause. You don't need to see blending, do you? Right, so that's smooth, and it looks like it's going to be a good consistency. It will have evaporated as it's been heating, so we will have lost some more liquid. Let's just, and we're going to be adding these powders to it, which is going to thicken it up as well. So let's just pour some liquid over those, and then we'll make a paste. And then we're going to heat it all up. So let's just make a paste out of this first. We might just run the blender through it. No, I don't think we need to. And I've got the tiniest little bit left of last year's that I made, which I just used up recently. So it's had a whole year to mature. So that's not gonna. I know we need to add this. This what we call it first, don't we? Let's taste it, and then we'll add some of this mulled wine reduction. So let's taste that. It tastes good already. It tastes good already. So this will be what we would have. I would have put port in it, but this is going to be the substitute for port. So probably about that much. It's got a little bit of viscosity to it already, so it's not going to water it down too much, and it can still it's still evaporating off. So just wash that spoon, send myself a little bit of washing up. How does that taste? Ooh, that's added a richness to it. So a little bit more, because we're going to be putting some orange and lemon juice into it. So let's carefully whisk this in like that. Slightly thicken a bit as that, so just get all that out like that. I don't think there's anything else to go into it. No, I don't think there is. Like that. That'll mix around. And then we want these. That's all combined, that's fine. So then we want this last bit of juice. Zest in there. We'll just scrape this out, and then we'll bring it back up to temperature, which will drive off a little bit more moisture. We don't want it too wet, like I want it to set. I mean, it will do. I mean, cranberries and red currants are Pectin, so it's gonna set. And there's that quince jelly in there as well. That's kind of quite high in pectin, so up to temperature, and then we'll give. While that's coming up to temperature, I mean, coming up to temperature, I mean, it's gonna. You want to sterilise everything, but we don't want to cook it too much because we don't want to kind of kill all those flavours that we've worked really hard to put in. So this is last year's. I've just used up a function. So how does this taste? That's delicious. It's really strong. Like, it gives a punch because of the ginger and the mustard powder. But it's really good. It's really good. So gonna make it this time of year and then use it next year, even better. So up to boil, and then I've sterilised some jars and lids in there. Pour it into the jars and lids, and then we'll be able to set it overnight. Well, let it go cold overnight, and then we'll be able to see if it's set properly. It will do. It will do. If it doesn't, we'll just have to pull it out of the containers and what we call it, and give it a reboil. But also, when you're making jams and jellies, sometimes when it's gone cold, it's a little bit loose, but it sets up over time. So you give it a couple of months, and it sets up even more in the jar in a sterilised condition. So even if it looks like it's a little bit loose when you've made it and it's cooled in the jar, it can sometimes go thicker in the jar. Anyway, so we'll see what it's like. I'll faff around and put it in some jars, and then we'll kind of see what it's like in the morning. I don't think this is set. It's looking a bit loose. Let's unlock it. Let's unlock it. Let's undo it and have a look. Oh no, okay. Oh, so it's soft. I want it a bit thicker than that. Alright, it wants to be thicker than that. So that's probably the right consistency for a proper Cumberland sauce, but I want it thicker than that. That's just going to go, when I put it on a plate, that's just going to go everywhere. So I think we need to pull all those out of the jars, put it in the pan, heat it up, and evaporate off some of that liquid to thicken it up. Yeah, that's too thin. That's too thin. Let's taste it though. Nice, nice. It just wants to be thicker. So we'll put it in a pan. Slowly bring it up to a boiling point, and then we'll give it a good boil, and constantly stir it so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. I think that's going to be for the best. Right, so we have reduced it. That's looking a lot better, is that? I'm sure that will set nicely when we put it in the jars, but we will do another check. So, nice clean jars, lids on, and then we'll check it when it's completely set up. Right, so I can see, it's only been cooling for a couple of hours, but I can already see that it's going to be thick enough. And there was a little bit left over, so we can have a look at that. Well, look, a bit left over that wouldn't fit into a full jar, so we can have a look at that now and see that's going to be a good consistency. That's going to be like a jam, so that's okay. So don't need to open any of those jars. Just give it a taste. It's lovely, is that? That's lovely. That will work very well on pate. The next time I need to do some pate for a starter. But there we go. A success and a lesson in using up what you have. So I'll put the proper recipe in the description. But it's one of those things you can use what you've got. You know, you saw what I used, so anything kind of similar. I'd stay away from like jams with seeds in, because you're gonna have to sieve out the seeds. But if you've got some like cheap jam, I mean, it's all right for cooking. Is this jam? I wouldn't necessarily put it on my toast, but there's no seeds in it, or there might be a few seeds in it. It is strawberry jam. Strawberries, water, acidity regulators. Yeah, I don't actually know how they'll actually make it, but that type of jam, you know, if you've got a bit of that you're using for putting in cakes and things like that, using for cooking, that's fine. But it's just a good way of using up little odds and sods that you've got around to create something new and delicious. But there we go.